Alright, so this is the initial live stream that I will be doing with the Honeycomb Alpha flight control system, and I've programmed the flight information in. We are going to be leaving Opelika right above Miami and heading up to Chesapeake, Virginia, flying and landing there, and then I'll decide what happens after that. Let's go ahead and get altitude information in. It's 3023. And we'll get up in there and I'll get a feel for the TBM with this new flight yoke. Alright, let's go ahead and get this bird in the air. So, initial altitude, we're going up to, I believe top off is 29,000. Okay, I got it. 29,000, and we'll set it for that. Let's see if Toga works. And let's see what happens. Okay, so a little bit different. And so far, just trying to get familiar with it. Flaps up. Let's go ahead and get back on the map screen. And turn back towards the magenta. Gear up, flaps up. Get back on course. Alright, so far I'm liking the spring that they have in this. It feels very well designed. This is my first flight yoke, and it's got a good tension on it. It kind of feels like the spring pressure of a Warthog, a Thrustmaster Warthog. only used to using joysticks, so this is definitely a first for me, so. Let's go ahead. We'll fly. So it doesn't look like the flight data went in correctly. So I'm turning back towards the next waypoint. And I'll have to adjust the flight computer once I get back on the appropriate magenta. Forgive the unpreparedness. I got this yoke today, so everything is like, by the seat of the pants right now. And we're looking at northern Miami, Opelika area. Flight computer. Yeah, so pushing into this, it definitely feels like it's got more spring than pulling the yoke out. There and see what happens. Still climbing. So far the climbing power is pretty good with this. Need to turn inertial separator off. I think the biggest challenge is trying to figure out what buttons to map for the TBM when flying with the Honeycomb. Alright, so I wasn't too far off of the magenta. Overall, nice view. I love flying over the northern Miami area. Set flight control to 125 knots, so it should keep us at 125 knots for the climb. That is like the optimum climb range for the TBM. Go ahead. Huh. Okay. Yeah, so a little bit of mapping needs to happen. So far, that's the only issue that I think I've had with it. The instructions are a little... They could use a little more detail. They're not horrible, but... was a little bit confusing when it came to hooking the stuff up to the desk mount, but overall, this is a very solid build. At this point, I would recommend the Honeycomb to anybody looking for a yoke system. From what I've heard, the Satex are, they're pretty standard, but pretty flimsy compared to what a feeling of one of these is. So I'm not sure what beach that is, but it's north of Miami. I know that. So if you have any questions about the Honeycomb yoke, please let me know. I'll try to explain. Tomorrow, I'm going to try and have a full review video. I'm in the middle of editing it right now, so just make sure you watch for that. It will cover the complete unboxing, the setup, the plug and play, what to expect when you enter X-Plane, and overall just general first review. I can't speak for the longevity of this product because I've only had it for like 6 hours. So take it with a grain of salt if you're planning on buying one of these, but my first impression is I recommend it. I mean, it definitely feels the same quality as, if you could compare it to a joystick, probably the Warthog. I wish I had a second camera, that way I could like face it towards the input. That's one of my goals, is to get a secondary camera so that way you can see what I'm looking at, but also what the flight input looks like as I'm using it. I have noticed that pressing some buttons on the Honeycomb itself, it does some funky things to the TBM, but like I said, I think that really comes down to the programming of the keys for the Honeycomb. And the system comes very well wrapped up to go for a Cessna 172 or part of that family, because I was able to go into my Airfoillabs, and that's a little bit better. I was able to go into my Airfoillabs, and basically it was like I was controlling all the necessary inputs from this yoke right here. From that standpoint, if you plan on training with a 172, this is like the get up that you need right now. The only add-on I would say on top of this would be wait until the Honeycomb Bravo throttle system comes out, because having used this just for the short amount of time that I've recorded a review video and now streaming with it, it's an impressive piece of hardware. That's what she said. It definitely looks like we got a 47 knot tailwind from the southeast or southwest. You can see we're getting pushed along pretty well. Just climbing. So in the comments, do you guys like the TBM? What draws you to it? Are you guys actually users of a TBM? What are your favorite flights with a TBM? Is anybody else using the Honeycomb system with the TBM? The videos that I'm going to be putting out after this will be more videos, of course, with the TBM, but I'm going to try and integrate this as best as possible. I definitely haven't had enough time today to just sit here and configure the way that I want to set this up. But if you're a 172 pilot, you're pretty much square. You're good to go. Let's go ahead and increase the torque a little bit. So as you rise in altitude with the TBM, the torque definitely dwindles. We still got about 10,000 feet in our climb as well. We're making pretty good progress too. And if you're just joining, we're heading up to Chesapeake, Virginia right now. We're leaving Okalaka Airport right above Miami. We will be a little bit over water today on the flight up. Let me narrow this out. The TBM is an awesome aircraft. It's just, there's a lot of capability with the aircraft. A lot of systems you need to learn. Developers did a very good job with this. One of my favorites by far. I can't wait to compare this TBM to the one coming out for the other platform. The one that you see in the online videos from time to time when they release a new progress report. Does look like we have some clear skies today too. The vast Atlantic Ocean. Is anybody on the East Coast? It's primarily why I fly on the East Coast. I'm familiar with it. I'm probably going to do a 172 flight tomorrow just to preview more of the functionality of the yoke system. That way I can demonstrate the all the buttons and how they interact with the 172. hopefully I'll have some time to reprogram the buttons to set up everything for other aircraft. The only thing that kind of stinks about the Honeycomb, but I can get over it real easily, is you're only going to be able to use it with general aviation, it looks like, because there is really no other mil sims or anything that has a yoke airplane. So if it isn't X-Plane 11 or one of the other flight sims that you know of, it's pretty much the only drawback of this system. But I mean, that's probably why you got it in the first place, because you're using it for general aviation or maybe commercial flying. Let me know what you think. Also, if you go to my page and you want to see a certain flight, let me know and I'll try to make it possible. So we're saying goodbye to the Florida coast here. It looks like a little bit of swamp too. So let's see what we have here. I love the interaction with this computer. For the most part, it's fairly friendly. Learning the sequences in the Garmin G1000 is a task in itself. I think the hardest thing that I've had so far was setting up the G1000 is figuring out the VNAV for the descents. It's hard to find good material on it. I'm kind of actually excited to see how this Honeycomb takes the TBM for a landing. I did a 172 earlier today. It was actually not bad at all. It was just getting used to the spring pressure of forward and back on the yoke. If you didn't hear me earlier, that's really the only thing that you need to adjust or get used to. Is it seems like the spring pressure pushing forward is a lot more than the spring pressure pulling backwards. So once you get used to that, I think you'll have the flight down. I am curious to see how long this will last before something or other users may complain about something going wrong with it. The only complaint that I had with the initial setup is the instructions are kind of vague. They could have probably put a little more Pictionary inside of it. Overall simple setup though. So it looks like we're leveling off at flight level 29. And that should be our cruising until we actually start our descent. So we got ocean on our right side, Florida coast on our left, and We got a little bit of ocean in front of us, so hopefully nothing happens, because our flight route today that I prepared in SimBrief takes us right over the Atlantic Ocean until probably I think we touch South Carolina. I think that's the normal crossing point, or around the North Carolina coastline. Look at that view. Man, I wish I could look at this in real life. I really would love to fly in a TBM. I know if it wasn't for probably Steve-O Knievo, the popularity of the TBM wouldn't even really be here unless you were rich and could afford one. It definitely turned me on to the TBM, was watching his channel. And I started watching that probably, I don't know, almost 2 years ago. And that's right when the TBM came out by Hot Start. And I want to say I probably bought it within a couple weeks of it coming out. I'm glad I purchased it, let's just say that. Going on well over a year now with the TBM, and I can't regret this purchase. Highly recommended. Thank you, Benedetto. Welcome to the channel. So it looks like we have officially left the Florida coastline. We are now over water, heading towards South Carolina. So if we have an emergency, we are pretty much SOL. We will definitely be sending SOS back to the shoreline. I think that's my biggest fear about flying over the ocean, is being in the middle of nowhere and crash landing or something. Raul, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. And I hope if you're here, you're a fan of the TBM, because this is probably an excellent source to ask questions and ask opinions. Like I said, I've had this module for, well, almost since the start of it. Thank you for the likes, Jay, Michael. Welcome to the channel. I'll have more content out like this. I'm actually doing a TBM series. I'm doing a Flight Factor 767 series, and I will be starting a tutorial series. I put out a quick start TBM video the other day. Wasn't one of my best ones. I'm trying to have a more formal tutorial series for the TBM, because like I said, it's a great aircraft, and when I initially started flying it, there wasn't many tutorials or anything on it, and I was going through YouTube the other day, and I really couldn't find that many actually stepping through the different processes of the TBM. So that's the goal of it. And definitely, I haven't seen many explain the processes of the 767, and I definitely want to get into that because this is my favorite general aviation aircraft. When it comes to commercial, I will have to say that my Flight Factor 767 takes the cake on that one. So I went to a website. All right, so your question for the quadrant, the throttle quadrant for, it's called the Honeycomb Bravo. And I actually went to a site the other day, and how I got the July time frame was because on that site it said available, you could pre-order it, but it said available July 2020. So that's where my timeline is coming from. And once I find that site again, I'll try to post it up. That way, people don't think I'm just pulling this out of nowhere. I know what I saw, and that's why I said it. But I have heard from other users saying that they have put out a deadline for this throttle more than once before, and they're hoping that this is not just another, bluff to make it sound like it's coming out soon. But I mean, I'm really pumped for it. That's all I can say. Using this Honeycomb right now, I've had about 3 hours of just messing with it, and I actually haven't really been messing with it that much. I've been editing my initial review video, and I'm trying to actually get to use it, and that's why I'm streaming right now. But I have a feeling that I just won't get the experience today. I'm probably going to be using this all weekend just so I can get a good feel for this yoke itself. It is an awesome piece of hardware. That's all I can say. And it sucks that I just haven't had the time today to actually mess with it because, like I said, I was editing videos. Hey, Stuart, that's awesome, man. I'm looking to get into the actual, what is it called? That online service. I can't remember what it's called. I just signed up for it, where you can fly with other aviators on X-Plane. If somebody can think of it, please post it, because it's like skipping my brain right now. But yeah, so I know somebody that's also streaming on YouTube. He's going to be using the TBM. He wants to create a series of flying around the world with the TBM 900. And I think it's interesting because I'm kind of interested in doing it too, but the problem is I don't think I have the time to fly around the world in the TBM, because that's going to probably take a year or so. Because flying around the world normally in like a Cessna 172 or whatever, a variant of the Cessna, which you can see on YouTube, I mean, that took them almost 3 or 4 months, and that was straight flying back to back. So yeah, it sounds good in theory, but I don't know if I'll be able to handle that with my family life right now. God, what is that flight service? I cannot think of it. I just signed up for it. It's where you have like real ATC talking to you and stuff. Yeah, I just can't think of the name. So hopefully it comes soon. That's him. That's what it is. Yeah, you got it. So you know what? I just noticed, and it sucks, and this is the one pet peeve I have about X-Plane right now, is ever since last week, it has been freezing up for some reason. Is anybody else having that issue? I've removed plugins after plugins to see what's causing it, and it's still freezing up. I wish I knew like a computer guru. You know what's funny is I'm an IT guy, but I'm not like a techie IT guy. I cannot figure for the life of me. I've gone to Steam. I have verified the flight files. Every time I verify, it says I'm missing something. It restores it, and then I re-verify. It's the same thing. The problem is, I look at the X-plane logs, and it doesn't really explain why it freezes on me. So unfortunately, it looks like if I want to continue flying, I'm going to have to exit out of X-plane. That's what sucks. Yeah, I am using Windows 10. Do you know something that I don't know? Because I could use any help. I've had nothing but problems with X-plane for the past like week or two. I can't explain it because it was working miraculously, and then all of a sudden I keep having crashes, and I can't figure out why. All right. Well, while we're waiting here, I'm gonna get into the Cessna 182. Sorry, viewers. It looks like X-plane crashed yet again. And the crazy thing is this is literally the only game that I have that actually crashes. I wish I could have like a dev like sit down and like look at my system and tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I went into my task manager, got rid of the Steam bootlegger, and that's the only way I can get back into X-plane, because once it crashes, it still sees an instance of it, and it won't let it start back up. Well, I was in a TBM. Let me I want to show off the Airfoillabs. And let's go to Jacksonville, because I think we're around that area. Jacksonville Executive at Craig. That sounds exciting. Let me see, is there a general aviation ATB flight school? Awesome. No, we'll keep it daytime just so you can see scenery. All right, so this will actually be a good demonstration of what the Honeycomb does with a 172. A little bit better, less boring than a TBM 900 when it comes to the Honeycomb system. Um, and if it didn't crash on me, I would have stayed with the TBM. But like I said, I have nothing but issues with X-plane for the past 2 weeks and it crashing on me. I don't know if it's a recent download that I've had with NVIDIA. I have a 1070 Ti, and it just had me update my driver, I think, last week. And I think I was sort of crashing before that, so I don't want to necessarily blame that driver, but something is causing this. It's been a constant plague of mine, because it'll go a couple weeks, or even months in time, and I'll never have an issue, and then all of a suddenly for like weeks on end, X-Plane will just be crashing. Alright, so as you can see, all these modeled switches on the Honeycomb take the cake when it comes to starting the 172. I've never been in a 172. The only downfall that I've seen so far, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, let's pull that out, is when you turn on the alternator switch, or when you turn on the alternator switch, it flicks both of the battery and alternator on. But you turn off the alternator, it leaves the battery on, so you have to flip up the battery switch on the Honeycomb to turn it back off. That is the only issue that I've seen with the plug-and-play setup that they have right now. But I don't know if that's... I'm pretty sure that's just a configuration on X-Plane side, because I don't see how that could relate to the Honeycomb itself. So let's go ahead. Avionics. Nav, strobe. See, let's prime. Primed a little bit. Prime off. And this is cool. Now I don't have to look down to start the engine.
The engine voltage is getting more prime.
That's what I love right there. Especially with the 172. Is now I can actually look up. And I have VR, so that's a different instance. But when I'm using a single screen to look at X-Plane, having to actually look down and then not seeing when the engine and the propellers turning, that's a pain. But now you can do it because it's got a turnkey on the Honeycomb. I like that. So full fuel, good here. Let's go ahead.
Engine is cold. Use less throttle during warm up.
Yeah. Alright, 1000 RPM. Let's let it warm up for a minute. Does anybody have any questions about the Honeycomb itself? I'm trying to provide as much input as I can. I just haven't used it long enough, so I may not know something you're asking. And it does have pan, so you can pan around the aircraft. It's got a hat on it. Strangely, I know this isn't accurate, but you can, when you plug this in, it's got it modeled or configured that you can raise and lower the flaps by 2 buttons on top of this. So the right side is raise, the left side is lower. You can hear the flaps lowering. The trim is on the left hand. So there is a button on the front of the left side, and it wasn't set to anything in the default X-Plane parameters. So I'm going to be using that as my toga when I fly like the 737 and the 767. So hopefully that will cross over well. They have a disco button for a flight director. I haven't used that yet, so I couldn't really tell you about it. Aileron, rudder. This is the Honeycomb This is the Honeycomb Alpha flight control system. It was $249. I got it off of Amazon, shipped to my house in 2 days. Yeah, Honeycomb's the name. Just look it up in Google. It'll pop up anywhere. And that's what I'm looking forward to, Michael, is I want the throttle quadrant to take care of the rest of the stuff that is a pain to program on other things. So let's go ahead. I'm not familiar with this airport, so I'm just winging it. And I think this is one of the main training airports down in Jacksonville. So if you live around that area, you know this airport very well, because you probably see trainees all day long. Alright, let's see. Is there a windsock somewhere? Need to see. Need to find a windsock, because I don't know which way the wind's blowing. Actually, I can just look at the map. Duh. So, wind's kind of coming. So I need to go down to the other side, pretty much. Gilberto, this is the Airfoillabs 172. I got it off of the X-Plane store. It was a decent price. It's definitely worth it. It's probably the most, if not one of the most realistic 172s that X-Plane has. I recommend it. There's only one flaw that I've noticed with the 172 from Airfoillabs is I've done multi-hour flights with it, and if you fly multi-hour, you risk the plane losing track of what it's doing. And by that I mean, so say you land at an airport like 3 hours from now, it might remember as far back as like 2 hours. So it loses that progress in that 1 hour time frame. So basically wherever you were at in that 2 hour time frame, that's where it's going to place you. That's the only thing that I've found as a downfall of this module, even though it's so realistic. And I think other people have had the same issue, because I scoured the forums trying to figure out if I was the only one. Let's see. Let me see if I can zoom back a little bit. Alright, 32 I think is the one. Is this the right one? So I basically want to go to that cross section. See if I can. I think I got room. Yeah, I got room. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the default 172 is very realistic, and for a default aircraft from Laminar Research, the 172 will take care of the job if you're just trying to learn the 172. This is like the extra step that you can take if you want the ultra realism, pretty much. Michael, yes, I do have rudder pedals. I'm using that. It was a pain getting used to it because I never flew with rudder pedals before. It was always like twisting joysticks and stuff like that. So we got a little bit of wind. Pan down, I can't remember. So it's just got a really nice feel to it. I didn't apply enough gas. So I don't think Honeycomb has rudder pedals. I have the Thrustmaster. I think it's part of the T16000 series. And if Honeycomb has rudder pedals, I don't even know about it, or I probably would have. That's on my wish list if it is an actual thing. So if you've never used a flight yoke before, it's definitely something to get used to. That's all I've got to say. Because you're using your left hand to try and trim electronically, and then you're just trying to grasp the concept of this. Because when you try to put down the aircraft in the front, you've got a lot of spring tension. Well, that's a new one on me, Michael. I'll definitely have to check it out, because after using this Honeycomb product, I definitely wouldn't mind checking out their others. And it seems like once you get the 172 trimmed with the Honeycomb, it's pretty easy. You don't have to worry about the spring, but initially pushing the aircraft forward, I think it's got more spring tension on the forward push than it does the reverse push. Let's go ahead and climb. I'm just going to fly by hand for a little bit. There's no point of this flight right now. I'm just trying to demonstrate the usefulness of the Honeycomb. So it's got a turnkey, it's got both of the buses for the avionics, it's got an alternator and a battery switch, beacon, land, taxi, nav, and strobe switches. You can you have right, left magnetos, you have both magnetos, and the start switch. The only thing that I wish about the start switch is that it had a spring as well. So when you go to start the 172 with the yoke system, it doesn't actually push it back to the both position. And I don't know if that's how it is with a real Cessna, but I imagine it being like a car. So you hit the start and then it springs you back to the both position, which this doesn't do. That's the only thing that I would change about the start, the little start key thing. So we're looking at the Jacksonville area right here and like I said, I don't have a flight plan. I'm just showing off the Airfoillabs 172. And basically, if you've never seen the Airfoillabs 172, this is it. It is very realistic. It's got its own menu where you can set weight, fuel. You have maintenance items that you can go in here, and if you want to refresh it, like say if something's wrong with it, you just go in here and click it, and it's like it's brand new. It's got a checklist tab, a camera tab. I mean, this thing is fully loaded. I like the way that it measures the maintenance that you need for the aircraft, because it measures it by flight hours as well. And this is what irritates me. So the issue that I was talking about earlier, where it doesn't save completely, like it'll get lost if you go a couple hours in. So basically, what I found out, you want to keep the flight under like an hour and a half with this aircraft. And if you get over 2, that's probably fine, but anything over that, you risk losing the status of the aircraft, such as like, maintenance records, the flight hours, and so on. That is what irritates me about it, because the whole point of putting maintenance hours and flight hours into this is so it keeps logging. And if you see where my cursor is right here, you see it's got 11 hours. So if the plane skips settings, like if it doesn't save in the INI, it's an INI file, and if you're IT or you do any type of, file editing with programming, you know what an INI file is. So basically, if it doesn't save the progress, you have to go in here and manually edit the INI file. It's a sort of a pain because it's in seconds. So if you can imagine like 20 hours, you have to convert that to seconds and then input that into the file itself and then save it. Then you can come back into the aircraft and everything is as if you want it. Hey Brian, what's going on? Thanks for joining. So as far as a dead zone, no. I have not noticed. There's so many. I need to retrim again before I get off topic. So as far as dead zone, it is very impressive. I haven't noticed any dead zone whatsoever. That means that the way that they have this set up, I guess inside of the device itself, it's got a, it's censored out the ass right now. And it's the same thing as if you're using the Thrustmaster Warthog. I think the throttles alone for the Thrustmaster, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like 10,000, points that it's tracking. Correct me if I'm wrong or put it in the chat itself, but I feel like that's how it is right now, because every little move that I'm doing on this, it's pretty much tracking it. Yes, there's like the ever so dead spot right in the middle, but that's probably because the curve that it's set to is set that way. That way, it's just not, you're not tripping everything just by a slight tug. But I imagine if you're flying in real life, there is some play, so it's not going to be exactly like, oh, hey, let me hit this and it's going to immediately go that way. No, it's probably got some play in it. It looks like I need to turn on the air because it's getting foggy. So that is one thing that's cabin air, cabin heat. So if you don't open the air vents, it will fog up to where you can't see out. I actually forgot to do that. That's one of the items on the checklist. I didn't read the checklist. I basically just started this up to show what the Honeycomb can do and started flying. So we're still going down I think we're going north up the Florida coastline in the Airfoillabs 172. And I just want to say it's pretty impressive. I just wish I didn't have to buy it. I wish I could have got sponsored to test it out and then keep it. Man, where are them cool programs at? Hey, Honeycomb, if you're watching, please send me the throttles. I'm definitely interested. I probably put together I want to say at least a 20 to 25 minute video today of the initial, what I thought of the Honeycomb, unpackaging it, what the box looks like, unpacking the box. how to set it up pretty much with one hand, because I was trying to record and hold it, you know, with one hand, and it wasn't possible. That I had to use two hands, so I had to cut and edit this video so it doesn't jump around too much, but hopefully I'll get that posted up. So I also have a YouTube page that anything that you miss on here, I'm putting all the highlights up on my YouTube page. So if you go to my actual page that you're following right now on Facebook, you'll find the link to my YouTube page in there. Make sure you like and subscribe to that as well, so that way if you want to come back to this information later on, you have the ability to, and you don't have to sift through YouTube to find my videos. Hey Johnny, what's going on? Thanks for joining. I'm flying right over Jacksonville right now. Well, I left Jacksonville, and now I'm using this flight control system in the Cessna just to preview it a little bit. And I'm not really flying to anywhere, by the way, if you're joining or you left, come back. I'm just going up the coast. Sorry about the flicker. I was clicking in between screens, and that's what happens. I wish, if anybody knows how to, if you stream yourself and you know how to keep it from flickering between screens when you try to click in the other screen, please let me know. Professional, yeah. I wish. But it is a Friday night and I'm feeling good. I forgot to actually lean this out a little bit, so that looks about good. No problem, Michael. That's the point of me doing this. I don't know. The funny thing about beginning to stream is I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm not going in it for a monetary thing. It's actually kind of growing on me as a hobby. I'm doing this for a hobby. And that's the whole point of it. I have a day job. It pays my bills. I don't need this to pay my bills. And yes, I'm drinking a beer. And no, do not drink and fly. Wonder, I'm going to look at the Avi tab right now and see where exactly I am, because I lost track already. So it actually looks like I'm about to cross the Georgia line. So if any of you guys or gals have any more questions about the Honeycomb, just shoot it in the comments and I'll try to answer it if I'm not blabbering on about something else. I am kind of happy that Michael told me there was the Honeycomb flight pedals, because I didn't even know about it until just this stream. So thank you for notifying me about that. I just hope from the site that I went to earlier, like a couple days ago, I hope that the release of the throttles that match this come out in July like it says it's going to. So how are you doing, Johnny? It doesn't even feel like it's 10 o'clock. I'm on the East Coast, so if you're wondering what time it is for me, it's 10:18 right now. And for waking up at 4 a.m., I'm actually, it's probably because I'm so pumped of using the Honeycomb right now that I don't want to go to bed. Like, I've already scheduled it with my wife that she's going to feed the baby at 4 a.m. and I'm going to sleep in tomorrow, which rarely ever happens. Same here, man. Just winding down from the workday. And it feels like the trim on this is actually really nice. Like, it doesn't feel like it trims it too much. It trims it like, I guess, how electronic trim should work. I mean, I'm basically having to put no input on this. Yeah, this is the new system. I forgot to answer your other question. So this is what came in the mail today. I was watching Amazon tracking all day, sitting at my desk at work. And they actually delivered it like within 2 minutes of like me arriving to my house. So I passed the UPS truck going to my house, and I knew exactly what just happened. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself because I refrained for about an hour of opening the box because I wanted to record my I guess opening sequence and what it looks like when you get a brand new box. I'm putting out a video tomorrow. Hopefully I can get it edited completely. It's about 20-25 minutes of just a general review of this. So if you're not part of this stream right now, you'll have something to watch tomorrow. But I'm going to post it to my YouTube. I'll probably link it in my Facebook. So if you're not following my YouTube, go ahead and subscribe when you get a chance. Yeah, the anticipation, man, it was killing me all day. But I was somewhat busy, so it kind of helped. Thank you, Navarro. Welcome to the channel. I forget what all these pre-programmed views do. Alright, so you got a right wing. Man, it's so ass backwards with these pre-programs. Left wing. So why would I want to look at a seat rest? Makes no sense. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. It's driving me crazy. So I do have Traffic Global, and I did see that they put out an update today. I have Traffic Global disabled right now because it actually caused a crash the other day, and I'm hoping that that crash will be fixed by the update that just came out. The only thing that I've noticed about Traffic Global is it says it includes general aviation. when I go to airports that are normally general aviation, I don't really see any general aviation flying, so that kind of bugs me a little bit. Man, this thing just feels so nice. I wish that, you know what, Johnny? I'm going to try and use this on the truck simulator, American Truck Simulator, as a steering wheel. I wonder if it'll work the same way. Because I don't currently have a steering wheel. Every game that I've been playing up until now has always been with a joystick. And you know, I have one of these generic Microsoft, not Microsoft, but Thrustmaster T16000 series or whatever. And I've had this I've had this joystick for probably a little over 2.5 years now, or around 2 years, and I've had zero complaints. It doesn't work that great with DCS because you kind of need a kind of like a Warthog setup. But other than that, I can't wait to put some more hours into this. No, I have not used it on the 767 yet. I'm saving that for probably later in the weekend. I definitely want to get some 767s, some flight hours in that. The other night, my internet crashed. I was actually doing a 767 stream, and the internet crashed right in the middle of it. So it's kind of disappointing. I'm going to try and redo that one. That was from Miami up to Philadelphia. So I think I'm going to try and restream that one, and hopefully it'll hold out. But I've been having some issues with X-Plane recently with it crashing just out of nowhere. So I also need to get that situated. I kind of wish you could fly with multiplayer inside of X-Plane, like some type of co-pilot system. That way, if you actually have an airplane that requires, such as a commercial airplane, you both can fly it together. That way, you know, the entire load's just not on one person. I wonder where I'm at now. I'm just going to keep flying up the North Coast. I don't know which highway is. You know what? And I was going to say, I'm going to guess it's 95. And I'm pretty sure this is 95 that I'm flying over. Let me look at it a little bit closer. Yeah, I-95. Man, I've spent a lot of hours on I-95. But it goes all the way up the coast, so I guess I can just be one of them radar planes that you see every once in a while. Even though I never see any. Look at that. I am... what did that AviTab say? I'm currently at 58 frames per second. 59. Almost 60 frames per second. That is awesome. When I click into the Zevo, holy shit, my frames go down to like less than 30, if not around, 20. Let's see. Yeah, I've been following the X-Plane forum, not the X-Plane forum, but the Facebook page. Somebody's actually in development for a 380. I don't know if there's one out right now or not. I think there is, but it doesn't like model the internal cockpit. There's somebody actually, or a group of people that are actually building a 380 right now. So that'll be an interesting module, depending on, you know, the quality of it. Hopefully it's good. The exterior model of it looks awesome. I think the person who's developing it right now is currently looking for a software coder to actually implement like the systems inside of it. So any of my viewers that are watching right now, do you guys remember force feedback? Because honestly, this would be the best yoke ever if this had force feedback. That way I could feel the wind and the shift of the airplane. Yeah, me too. So, yeah, man. Force feedback back in the day. So when I was um, when I was playing video games on computer back in like the early 2000s, I actually had a it was called a side, was that Thrustmaster? I think it was a Thrustmaster Sidewinder. And it had force feedback, and it was made for jet fighters. So you could literally feel like the entire input of the airplane as you're flying. And for some reason, they just stopped making these things. And so people had to go and have like Kickstarters to make them, and it's got like troublesome software. And it's just like, Thrustmaster or whoever, just come back out with the force feedback stuff. Problem is, I don't even know if these flight sims even model it even anymore. I know back in the day they did, because I had a force feedback joystick. I had a force feedback steering wheel. I think it was that might have been a CH product. I can't remember. Or it could have been a Microsoft force feedback wheel. Those things were awesome. And it's crazy that back in like 2000, you know, me being a kid, I was using that type of stuff, and now it's 2020, and they don't have hardly, unless you have a custom person make you one, there's no force feedback that I know of. I think if Honeycomb would have implemented force feedback in this alpha right now, they would easily sweep the market. That's what I find so crazy. The technology is still there, it's just not being used. And honestly, now that I think about it, force feedback pretty much died out when Microsoft killed off their flight simulator. I think the last version was like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004 or something around there. I think that's when force feedback pretty much died off too. Man, I remember that sometimes that thing would be so violent, it'd pretty much yank itself off of the desk. I thought it was funny, but It's just crazy that they had that back then. I really don't know why that view. Alright, I get it. You're looking out the back. Let me make sure the trim is good before I try and set this. Let's see. Alright. Let's try that. So if you just joined the channel, we're flying over I-95 right now, heading up the East Coast. I don't know which airport that is. Let's see. Brunswick. I wish there was an AviTab like plug-in for the 172. Does anybody else that's currently watching right now remember the force feedback? If not, it's okay. I think we're going up to Augusta, maybe? I can't remember. So if you're just joining, this is my initial stream with the 172, and I am flying with the Honeycomb Alpha flight control system. I was just notified earlier that there is a foot control system, I guess, I didn't even know about. So I'm going to check that out after I jump off of this stream. But according to the website I went to the other day, the throttle quadrant is coming out in July of 2020. Now, this date has been pushed back before, so hopefully that website isn't lying and they know something more than we do. I know it's up for pre-order. I'm excited after using this product. Thank you, David, for following. Welcome to the channel. Be sure if you want to see my, I recorded about a 25-minute review of the Honeycomb system, from unboxing, initial setup, the plug and play, you know, just a very preliminary flight, probably like a 5-minute flight. Just an overview of the Honeycomb, what to expect when you get one, or if you want to get one, what everything looks like inside the box. You know, the anticipation was there today when it arrived on my doorstep, so I was very excited. I made about a 25-minute video, 20 to 25 minutes, I don't know. I haven't finished editing it yet, but I will be posting that tomorrow on my YouTube. and then I'll probably share it to my Facebook page. If you want to follow me or subscribe to my YouTube, go to my page. You can click the link from there, and yeah, so just go to my page, the Facebook page, and I have the link for my YouTube in the description or one of the links on the side. You can find me on YouTube by just searching my name, Clinton Sorey, as you can see in the screen scrolling below. I haven't been able to create a custom URL yet because my YouTube channel is too new, apparently. So you have to be a creator for more than 30 days to have a custom URL, so that's why you either go to the link in my Facebook page or you name search me. I'll try and get that changed. I'm also going to be working on a logo in the next week or so. I don't know. If there's any logo creators out there, let me know, because I definitely need some help with Photoshop. Yeah, that's a tasking in itself. And like I was saying to people earlier, you know, I'm not here for money. It's just more for so I can show people what to expect. Because honestly, this is turning into a hobby, and it's been pretty fun so far. So I'm burning about, it looks a little under 4 gallons an hour. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm actually, I'm doing VFR right now. I don't have anything inputted into the autopilot or whatever. I'm just flying up I-95 on the Florida or the Georgia coast right now, and I wanted to fly VFR with. This is the Airfoillabs Cessna, by the way. You can find it on the X-Plane store. I think it was around $34 or $35. Definitely worth the content, or you know, the learning material that comes with it. So the Honeycomb, you're asking about the Honeycomb. It is awesome, and that's actually the reason I'm streaming tonight. You know, I could have easily just taken a break after getting off of work, but I created a 20-25 minute video. I'm streaming live now. I was in the TBM earlier, but X-Plane decided to crash, and for some reason I don't know why. So I'm in the Cessna 172 by Airfoillabs right now because the Honeycomb is meant, it looks like, for the 172. And I was testing out all the buttons and everything, and I have to tell you, it's pretty awesome. It feels like a well-designed piece of hardware. It doesn't feel cheap. I've heard some of the Satec products I've heard feel cheap. It doesn't have the range of motion that, you know, the Honeycombs have. I highly recommend it. If this is as good as it is, I hope the throttle quadrant that is coming out from Honeycomb is exactly the same. I can expect the same quality. It's very solid. There's hardly... Somebody asked about a dead spot earlier. I don't think there is one. I think it's just curved that way. You're not just... You know, you're not overcorrecting yourself on the flight system. It's so fluid. There was a couple critiquings. So this is there was a couple critiquings I have about the Honeycomb. I'll get to your scenery in just a sec. There's a couple critiques I have about it. One is I think there is a misconfiguration with the stock settings in X-Plane when you're using the alternator and battery switches on the Honeycomb. I don't think it's any fault of the Honeycomb. I think it's just how X-Plane has their default settings for the configuration when you set this up. One thing I would change about the starting key mechanism, which on the key mechanism you have off, right, left magnetos, you have both magnetos, and there's a start position. Well, I wish the start position had a spring in it, you know, like a normal car, because if you leave it there, it's just going to stay in the start position. That's the only thing that I think I would change so far. Getting used to it is the other thing. Getting used to the Honeycomb, you know, it's easy going left and right, but the spring tension it has, I guess I just need to break it in. I don't know. But pulling back is not bad. Pushing forward, there's a lot more spring tension when you push forward than pulling back. So I have noticed that. It's just, you have to learn it, and it's just something you might have to adjust to. But like I said, I've only had it, let's see, what time is it? It's 10:44 Eastern. I've had it for about 7 hours now, and like I said, it's just getting used to it. So it might break itself in to where it's not as like difficult to push in. It's a brand new, I don't know. I'm just giving my initial thought about it. Scenery wise, to your next question, this is just a this is Ortho 4XP. So I fly up and down the East Coast a lot, probably because I'm from the East Coast, and I just downloaded all the orthos on the East Coast. So there's your other question. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Make sure to watch my other videos. If anybody else has any questions, let me know. That's the whole point of this stream, is to preview the Honeycomb. I'm kind of previewing the 172 at the same time. I hate that view. So it looks like I need a trim again. I messed it up demonstrating. It's all good. That's the purpose of this stream. Do I have any other East Coasters on the stream right now? Or from around the world, just post where you're from. I'm interested to see. So this thing has got 27-gallon fuel tanks on both sides. I'm burning 4 gallons an hour with this lean setting. I definitely will not be streaming until tomorrow. I can tell you that. I think I want to set that. I-95 traffic. Word of advice, if you're ever going through Virginia, don't go through Emporia, which is located right on I-95. Their whole mission in that county is to pull you over to give you a ticket. Half the people I know have gotten a ticket in that county. Funny thing is, I was on I think it was around last year or maybe the year before that, I was on Facebook and I actually saw memes circulating around the country about Emporia, Virginia. That's how much of an impression we've made. The state for lovers has made on the nation. I hate that saying, by the way, but for some reason it's one of the most popular sayings in the U.S. What I do like about is there is a hat switch on the left handle so you can pan around the aircraft. Let's see. Alright, I'm not going to take too much longer on this flight. I feel like my job of demonstrating this flight control system has been accomplished. So I think I'm going to pull over in Savannah, and then I may go to a different gaming system. So it says 135. So what that yellow means is it's okay somewhat to go in the yellow. When you're in the yellow, you just can't perform any crazy air maneuvers. Because that's, when you're in that yellow range, that's, if you perform any air maneuvers, that's with outside of the limits, it will strain the aircraft and pretty much your plane's destroyed. Yeah, exactly. No barrel rolls. I think I have seen a Cessna do barrel rolls before. I watch too many aviation videos on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you. So if you're just joining the channel, I believe the Honeycomb demonstration is going to wrap up here in a minute when I land in Savannah. So if you have any last minute questions, or if you like what you saw, go ahead and follow my Facebook page, or follow my Facebook page and subscribe to my YouTube, because I'll be posting all the highlights from tonight. And I also made an initial box opening setup video for the Honeycomb itself. So if you want to watch that, I'll be posting it tomorrow on YouTube, and then I'll put a link for the YouTube video in my Facebook page. Let's see. I wonder where the airport is in Savannah. Actually, I think I can just facility, nearest airports. I want an actual airport, so let's see. Okay, so that's K Savannah. Alright, so I'm just going to go direct there, activate, and let's put it on GPS. Alright, hey GPS. Let's see, I have not used GPS yet. So this has all been visual VFR. And it's saying that I'm passing, so that may be the case. Let me go ahead and pull up. See, I'm not used to the spring tension, so I'm turning and I'm thinking that I'm pulling up the aircraft, but then I actually feel the spring tension and I'm just like, oh wait, there's the yoke. Alright, so distance, desired track is 066. I'm flying 063. And it is 061. I'm 8 miles apparently. Man, the wind must be kicking because it's thrown off my bearing. Oh, Savannah. Yeah. So it's saying my desired track is 066, but I don't know what my airplane's telling me that I'm doing. Oh, okay. I see it now. So I was on the right heading to begin with. Huh. Way to go, VFR pilot. Trying to use maps. Man, that would suck. Old school map reading. Hey, look for this visual cue over the, the left window, and then you're there when you see this object. Yeah. That's crazy. That's how it used to be done back in the day, but I mean, we're still doing barbaric stuff in surgery, so I guess it's not the craziest. I think I see it. There we go. We're pretty much almost dead on with the runway. Let's see if I can actually do a good demonstration and landing with this. Because in my video that I made earlier, and I'm not going to go back and edit it, but in my video I did earlier, because I wasn't used to the spring tension in the Honeycomb, I kind of just slapped it on the runway. So when you listen to the video, it's going to be like thud, and then it's, well, you could have done that better probably. But I told myself I wasn't going to change it, so I stuck to that. Alright, landing lights on. Beacon, nav, strobes all on. And basically, we're just going to VFR it all the way in. And so far, I mean, it's pretty easy to maintain a level flight. The electronic trim is very easy to manage. It seems pretty responsive with any input you give this thing. There's a little bit of curvature in the middle, so it's not so touchy that it's just unbearable. So I don't know if you can see it, but we're lined straight up with the runway. And I've been probably flying VFR for well over almost 2 hours now, so getting a good amount of VFR practice for my real world situation training. Let's see. So it looks like I've almost burnt a half a quart of oil flying 2 hours. Alright, let me richen this up. Cool down the engine a little bit. Looks like I need to line up just a tad bit with the runway. And I don't know what's going on with my navigation right now. I'm pretty sure that's Savannah, but it's saying, according to my GPS, it's the other way. So I don't know what's going on currently with that. Maybe I lost accurate GPS signal. I don't know how well that's modeled in this. Alright, so in just a minute I'm going to put down my approach flaps. Let's go ahead and slow down a minute, or a little bit. Approach flaps. Man, that spring tension. It gets me every time I put on flaps. It's just like, you have to really press into it. That's the only thing that really throws me off. So it looks like I do have a little bit of a crab walk going on right here. So I'll just have to straighten out. So it looks like we have a good glide slope going on right now, according to the ground indicators. That's what them 4 dots are. If you see 2 red on the right, that means you're in an optimum glide slope. Anything other than that needs adjusting. I forget the other signals for it, but it looks like I got a pretty on-point start to this. And you want to land at about 90 knots. Let me get over some. It looks like there's definitely a crosswind. So now you get to see my crosswind practice. So a little bit of right rudder and left aileron. So as you can see, I'm having to actually correct for the crosswind right now. I think I'm doing a pretty damn good job. So yeah, that didn't sound good, but I'm still getting used to it. Don't chastise me too much. Alright, let's see where I want to park this thing. So definitely alright, so trying to do the view and drive around is not a good thing, as you can see. So I'm just gonna go over here. Yeah, it was good until I touched down. I'm still learning this system, so I'm just gonna go with that. I don't have a flat tire, and I'm sure they they land harder in the flight training schools. Honestly, I thought that was concrete. Alright, well, to all my viewers, I appreciate you watching the past 2 hours, me demonstrating the Honeycomb yoke with this Airfoillabs 172. Please like or follow my page if you want to see more content like this. I will be bringing a lot more with demonstrations. I primarily fly the TBM 900 and the Flight Factor 767. If you have any questions, just shoot them to my Facebook messaging. I'm happy to answer anything that's within reason. Just, I don't know, give me some feedback. I always like constructive criticism. If there's anything I can do different, or if there's a flight that you would like to see, go ahead and leave it in my Facebook page and I'll try to accommodate you. That's the whole point of this. I want to teach and, you know, possibly inspire some of my viewers to get into flight sims. That's the inspiration of my channel. So thank you again. Hey Johnny, I'll catch you tomorrow. It was good talking to you. If you're around, I don't know what time or when I'll be on this weekend, but I plan on flying the 767 either tomorrow or Sunday. So just stick around, or watch out for, I may create an event, you know, to let people know. Appreciate everybody. Have a good